into the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Oh, wait.
The one part that he starts it on.
Oh, this is slow. You gotta wait for it. You gotta wait for it. In the meantime, make a gangster fake. There we go.
Dun, dun. Dun, dun.
Trying to catch me riding dirty.
Trying to catch us riding dirty. I'm trying to catch us riding dirty. We're trying to catch us riding.
I'm gonna let him lean with it. Rock with it.
I don't know if you can lean with it, rock with it to that song.
You were doing it though. You were trying.
And it looked awkward.
I'm sure they see this lovely face here. I'm sure the people are surprised. Go ahead.
Oh, for real? Wow. Oh, you're talking about me.
Oh, I'm talking about you.
Completely thrown off. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Blackish on ABC. I'm your host, Courtney Tezeno, and today we have a special guest host with us.
Yes, we do.
Introduce yourself, lovely.
I am Kevin John, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for allowing me to guest host with you guys today. And you guys look so lovely. I should have stepped my game up before coming out. I should have shaved, put on a blazer or something, you know.
We don't,
got a fresh edge up. Or...
We get chill on the show. We get chill.
And I get trill.
Chill.
Oh, chill. I thought you said we get trill on here. I was like, okay, she going Texas for real on it.
And across from us is the lovely.
Hi, you guys. What's up? I'm your host, Stacy Ike, and I'm super happy to have Kevin here.
Yes.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah.
And I've worked with, Stacy in a variety of manners, and she is always such a joy and a blessing to be around to work with.
You are doing too much.
She dresses so funky, too.
Right.
She be, woo. And Courtney.
Okay, stop. We haven't worked together.
You smell good. So I'm glad. Actually, that sounded weird.
It does. Okay.
Oh, our listeners are dying. I hope you are running to this or something.
Well, this week's episode is called The Gift of Hunger. And we see in the very beginning that Dre is trying to teach his kids a lesson by taking them to the buffet. That's where we start this episode. So buffet style, all you can eat. And his kids aren't feeling it. They do not want anything at the buffet. So how did you guys feel about that opening scene?
First of all, I do, I understand what they were trying to say, but I have to defend the kids a little bit.
Right.
Because if you go to certain buffets, honestly, some of that food looks like it's been like steaks that have been microwaved and chicken that's just been, from the day before.
Exactly.
And a lot of buffet food, with the exception of Vegas hotels where the buffets are just immaculate. But if you go to hometown buffet, is it, or old style, all those other ones.
Like a Golden Corral.
Yeah, Golden Corral.
Okay. We have to get specific.
No diss. But the food, some of those foods, especially the meats, are not that good. I just have to say that.
Right.
They're not visually appealing. There are some things that I like at the buffet, but overall, it's not my scene. Like, I kind of like the sit down, I pick on the menu exactly what I want, and that's it.
See, that's the thing. We're older now, so the buffets aren't as sexy and fun. But when I was their age, we packed up in the minivan, and we went to the buffet. That's just how it was. I had 5 siblings. I mean, none of you know what I mean. My parents were like, "How we gonna rack this up?" Everyone, y'all want to eat after church? Okay,
that's what we did.
Like that's how it is. So I feel like it was so familiar to see them there and cracking up at their responses was just because I could see my younger siblings now thinking that they're 8 and 12, so they've seen their older siblings order them really nice food or get them nice stuff, so they are probably like, why are we at Golden Corral? Why aren't we? You know what I mean? But when I was 12 or whatever age,
it was more of a luxury. Like you said, it was kind of a luxury to go after church instead of going home and doing the homemade thing. Yes. Mom was tired of cooking, and we went to a buffet.
I loved it.
So it was kind of a luxury for us. But for them, buffets, like Diane said, the food made her sad.
That was so funny. I'm like, what? How spoiled are these kids? But go ahead. What were you gonna say, Kevin?
No, I was gonna say, you guys talked about as kids going there. When I was a kid, I went to buffets. One of my favorite stations was the ice cream station.
Right.
Ooh, I would just go there and load it. And my mom used to always say, Kevin, did you eat this? Did you eat this? Did you eat your dinner or salad? And I would just go to 2 main things. It was either the ice cream station or the dessert station, or I would hang out at the French fry station and just keep going back and forth. That's all I did. But
were your parents, obviously we see that they just left their food.
Right.
My parents were very much like, you finish everything on that plate before you get the other one. They left the buffet. I'm like, did they get their money back?
That was so, I just think it's so funny because it literally brought back memories of like when we were, kind of doing the most. Sometimes my sister and I would like wrap up some food to go. We'd be like, ooh, I don't want to eat this right now, but I want to save it for later. It's not that serious. Like, it's all you can eat. You can eat it. But just seeing them, how they reacted to the meat, how they reacted, it just was really funny.
Yeah, I did that whole take food to go thing when I was in college in the cafeteria.
Brought the Tupperware to go.
You had to make it work. You had to.
Yeah, exactly. Leaving with chicken patties in my packet.
Exactly. So obviously we have a different take than the kids. They were not feeling the buffet.
Right.
And we see that Dre decides to teach them a lesson by making them live for less. So what did you guys think about that scene where we see the baking soda and the tomato, was it the ketchup and the bologna in the fridge?
Right.
Like, that was, whose fridge looks like that?
I know.
Did anyone's fridge look like that growing up?
I mean, there were some days. There were some days.
that's what I was about to say.
Exactly. I mean, there were a couple days, not full weeks or months or anything, but I just remember a couple of days with the baking soda looked real fresh, and I was like, what could I? No, I'm kidding. But still, like, there were some days that. But I've been taught that lesson a couple times. My dad, he's really funny when it comes to that stuff. We used to kind of sit around like a house and be like, why aren't we eating this? Or we'd say stuff like, there's no food, knowing there's a lot of food, but we don't. There's no fries or burger or cupcakes or candy, so there's no food. And he would just be like, oh, okay, really? There's not? Okay. And then he would literally be like, okay, well, he would like mix nasty crap and then be like, that's your dinner, since like this is all. And he would just, I mean, luckily there was like a backup plan, but he just wanted to see it, like test us out for a good hour. We're just like, but this is really gross. It's not funny.
Isn't it weird though how creative parents give you punishments?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was a punishment to take away the food just to teach a lesson.
No, that's true, because I think back to when I was a kid sometimes, and I'm sure I still do this today. Sometimes you'll go to the refrigerator, open it up, you'll have a bunch of stuff in there, but you're like, man, there's nothing in here.
Right.
And you just sit there and look at it when you got all kinds of stuff. Now, there may not be anything desirable in there to eat, but there's a lot. And speaking of making, because my mother used to do that as well, especially after they split and times were a little rough. She would be so creative in coming up with meals. Like, she's the only person I know where we can have rice for dinner, and in breakfast she will turn it into like some kind of breakfast patty or a rice and egg omelet or something. And she will use that rice for 3 meals any which way.
Make it spread.
And make it spread. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like the kids would not be okay with that.
They wouldn't take to that.
No.
I mean, and I think that's the difference between, I was going to say baby boomers versus millennials. Like, there's a difference, but we're millennials still. We're considered millennials. So there's kind of like this break in our generation where there's some kids that are a little different than us.
But there's because there's the 2014 type of millennials, and then there's us. The
80s, 90s babies.
Like, for some reason, when Dre, a lot of these episodes, I relate to him. I think it's funny. I respect like his, form of punishment or whatever. But then I literally call my siblings. I'm like, what do y'all think about this? I would have done exactly what the kids did. I'm like, because you're 12.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, they are just like that. So it's very funny because there is a break. When we were growing up, we still typed. I have my handwriting stuff. Now, I mean,
cursive is just a foreign thing. That is foreign.
They will never see it. They will never see it. So yeah, it's funny.
Kids, y'all don't know how good y'all have it now.
Right.
We sound old.
Right.
I know, right?
Giving our age a little too much.
Right.
That's hilarious.
So I thought it was interesting when Dre was saying that Bo had it different. So Bo never had the baking soda and the ketchup. She was raised mixed.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what that lifestyle is like, but does anybody know anyone that is black but was raised mixed like? Like, what is mixed? What is that?
Well, mixed is when you have two parents that come from different nationalities and ethnicities.
Okay.
But no, it's funny when you say mixed. A lot of times that's interesting because you do have two different cultures, especially if it's black and white. Like, I think if it's like black and Mexican, or a little something more where the cultures are somewhat similar. It's not as drastic change.
Yeah.
But when you have black and white, yes, those are two completely different cultures coming together. So yeah, I'm sure Rainbow's upbringing with that kind of family was drastically different than Dre's because of the fact that there was she had a white father, I believe it was.
Yeah,
but it's also go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I really wish Megan was here because Megan seems to relate to she's black and Asian, and you would think that would be drastically different, but she was raised practically
Sounds
the
like
same.
a good kitchen right there.
Right.
Yeah.
She was black and Asian, man. That little mean and man,
the whole nine.
There was like tilapia thrown there. A couple. Anyway, let me stop. But no, I just think it's funny because it's possible that her upbringing was very, very different, but it's also possible it was exactly the same, because sometimes when people from two cultures come together and they mesh so well, they have like very similar mindsets. Obviously, they both have kind of background stuff, but I feel like we all have mixed friends who in more ways relate to us regardless of like what race they were you know what I mean? It's just like, oh yeah, you did this, oh your mama did this. It don't matter if your mom was white, black, yellow, or green. Like she still had the same, you know what I mean? So I thought it was interesting that Dre was, because he was pointing it out and I'm like, oh, this is comic relief. But maybe he meant it as the husband. He was being like, no, really, you had a white dad.
Yeah, you had
probably
it better.
had less ramen noodles than I did. Who knows? Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But I think with the way that Bo acts, I don't think it's like 100% true. I think some parts, okay, sure, but other parts she agrees with Dre in a lot of situations. After a while, anyway.
Well, we have to remember that she's like from this hippie culture.
Sure,
her parents are very like not happy-go-lucky, very free, and their lifestyle was probably very similar to Dre's.
Right.
But speaking of food, or if we were speaking of food, let's get into this casserole that Janine brought over to the house.
Embarrassing.
That pity casserole.
Embarrassing. I was dying. I died. See, and that's what's wrong with kids today. How could those kids have the audacity to go to the neighbor's house and say that we're not doing so well? And it's like, just because
you would never.
That was hilarious.
The most that you go to your neighbors for as a child for me was, okay, do they have Kool-Aid today? I'm sorry to say
like, can I get a ride
Kool-Aid or snacks that my parents don't let us get.
Yes.
That's the only time you go to the neighbor's house, and you never beg. You just go because your friends are there.
I hated going to the neighbor's house because I always felt like the kid, like I felt bad because like if my parents were already gone for school or I missed the bus, it's like, I can't walk. I'm 12, so I need to ask. You know what I mean? Like you have to. My sister called me a couple days ago. She's like, should I go to the neighbor's house? Mom and dad are already at work and I missed the bus. It's like, yeah, you're gonna have to do it. So it's funny because the kids, the way they reacted was like it was not a big deal. They're like, oh, we don't care how it makes our parents look.
No.
Like, we just need to get our casserole or whatever.
They would, and that's the difference. Like we would have thought about that. Like we think about how are we representing our parents?
Exactly.
And they're just like, no, we're doing it for us. I don't know what you're thinking.
Like, Mom, this house is too much for us. I was like, oh my God, these kids. It's hilarious.
But it's funny. You see a lot of times now they live in an affluent community,
right.
So obviously there's a lot of upscale, upper class that live there. So it's funny when you look at that, or when you go to like a middle to lower class community. At least in a middle to lower class community, it seems like they are more opt to help out and stuff. It's like it's a village, It takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
Everyone knows each other in the community. They'll, take. But it seems like in some certain affluent communities, it's kind of like everyone is kind of their own little isolated or sequestered home where they don't share everything and whatnot. So I thought it was interesting that the one nosy neighbor, I forgot her name,
Janine.
Oh, she was funny.
She was because what's funny? Everybody in every neighborhood, everyone has that nosy neighbor that's just in everybody's business about everything.
Yes.
Always has. My neighbor, he lived next door. His name was Mike. He was the nosy one.
You called him out.
I thought of one, but I didn't want to put it out there.
Man, Miss Shimmons was real.
Right.
Yeah,
and this always has their nose in everything.
So funny,
always commenting, and I just and when you see them coming, you automatically just like. Either run or play dead.
Yeah.
you don't want to talk to them.
You can't act like you don't see them because they know you see them.
And they will tell your mom.
They will.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
They always tell mom. I heard the kids today, they must not have been feeling well. They didn't say hello. It's like, oh my gosh, where do I live? Anyway. Gosh.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the pity casserole, we get into, both made a funny, she had a funny moment when she talked about, I've had too much affirmative action money and I took it from the Pacific Islander to basically she was just upset that Janine would even put her on the level of being low class and not privileged enough to live where she's living.
In the neighborhood.
Yeah, I've done too much.
Yeah.
I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm not here by default. We're not struggling like that.
Right.
So I thought that was hilarious from Bo.
It's funny because you think about the people who have thought about you before like that. And it's not just like necessarily white or, I feel like it's been a lot of different races. I'm like, oh, you're a black girl who's doing it? And they could be any race saying that. You know what I mean? It's just really, that was really funny when she said that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. But, I think what's also interesting is how much Rainbow was concerned the way her image was perceived to the outside world.
I get it.
You know, it's funny, you know, a lot of times when people want to help you out, sometimes people are like, no, I'm fine, I don't need help, you know, because they don't want to be perceived as struggling or, like, have you ever, I don't know if this ever happens to you guys out here, but have you ever, like, given money to, like, a homeless person or someone that seems like they're not, and they get offended by it because they feel that, okay, you're labeling me someone that cannot provide for myself or take care of myself. And it's like, well, when you're, you know, sitting here with clothes that are soaked in urine and they're halfway off, I mean, what else? But, you know, it's kind of like the same thing. Like, you know, I obviously she didn't want to be perceived as someone who was struggling. But she's a surgeon after all.
But was it just that? Was it she didn't want to be stereotyped as a black family struggling? Because that's what I got from it. Is that yes, she had all of this schooling, she's a nurse, she's well off, but she didn't want to be categorized as black, and that's the first thing that Janine wanted to, like, the reason I think she gave is because she's like, oh, well, yeah, this is right. Yeah, you're a black family, and I know it's hard. It's hard. They made the comment that was like, it's hard for anyone. And I was like,
side eye.
Exactly.
Side eye.
So there's some like underlying things that were going on there, and I think that's why she works twice as hard to prove that, like, you know, I'm well off regardless.
Well, you have to realize, anytime you're a black family in a wealthy neighborhood, you're going to be scrutinized just because of that. You know,
it's also possible to live in a wealthy neighborhood full of black people or full of minorities or
Baldwin
full of,
Hills.
like, that's very, I mean, it's real. So it's not like, it's just funny because Bo, one thing I love about her is her character isn't involved in I need to work twice as hard. Like, she doesn't wear that. I feel like Dre wears that a lot more, and that's why it's funny when they kind of bicker and come to a consensus of how they're going to teach the kids a lesson, because she's always like, okay, it's not a big deal that we're treating our kids like this because they should have more than we did or whatever. And Dre's like, well, they should learn the hard way and then have it. And it's just such a
two different backgrounds.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
It's two different backgrounds.
Upbringings.
It's awesome. It's a cool contrast.
Exactly. Okay, so Bo, we get into the office, and I believe the next couple of scenes, he's in the office, and every time Dre is asking for the opinion of how to raise his kids.
Worst people at work.
Yes, the worst people to get advice from on how to raise your kids. But he goes to them, and he's like, "Was it right for me to you know, free up the fridge and make my kids starve?" And everyone was against it, obviously.
Yeah. And it was just funny because a couple weeks ago, the same people gave him advice about don't spank your kid. Well, spank kids, but like not your kids, because that's too much. And it's like they're just so inconsistent with their advice. And it's hilarious because, you know, their response today was just so, well, what do you mean? They're supposed to have everything you want. Or everything you didn't have. They're perfect kids. And then he made a joke about how his kids are in rehab and everything.
Yeah. And the reason I think that Dre went so crazy is because he made the comment like, your kids are just like my kids. And that moment, Dre was like, "Oh, your kids are in rehab, and they kicked out of rehab."
That's because it was
handed to them, so that's when everything was snatched away.
I like that lesson though, because it is true, and it doesn't even matter what type of family you are. You got to learn as a kid, especially in this generation, Lord Jesus, because these kids have iPads at 6, for goodness sake. I mean, they're not. I'm serious. They're not going to know how to type or write cursive. I just shouldn't even say that word anymore. I think it's like foul now. But
cursive.
They don't know what cursive is.
Cursive. Anyway, so I just think I loved what his initial point of the lesson was, to teach them what hard work means. But then just the way he did it was just so drastic and very...
Yeah, like the whole started from the bottom thing. I'm like, I get it. I really get it. Yeah. But they don't have to start that low. Like, there's another bottom for this generation.
You know, at the end of the day, I think it is, you know, like, I guess we're kind of in unison with that. You know, it's good that he did do that, because you got to think, you know, especially like you said, kids that aren't even wealthy have, you know, luxuries, have iPhones, all this other bullcrap. So, you know, the fact that some kids grow up in wealthy neighborhoods have even more than that, it's like kids now don't understand the value of $1.
Yeah,
seriously.
And that's the main thing I was taught.
Yeah, exactly. And I was taught, I worked hard for my allowance when I was, you know, 12, 13 years old. I agree. And, you know, had a job by 14. Just threw that in there. But anyways,
it's real.
But yeah, you know, and the reason is, you know, I think
what he was trying to do was show his kids, look, you know, you guys may feel that you're good because you have all these nice accessories and materialistic things and whatnot, but the problem is certain kids may think that that's the way it's supposed to be coming up.
But hard work doesn't go out of style, and that's I think the main that's the main thing I think he's trying to put into them. Now, the things that he was trying to implement, I don't think are relevant to this generation. You have to get a little creative, like I said, but that hard work is what he's trying to instill in them. I just think he should have gone a different route. I just don't know what route.
That's it. I mean, I didn't. I mean, some of, you know, bearing down the fridge was much, but I think bringing them into work, that was pretty cool, especially because it was an advertising job. It was a very current type of job. It's very 2014. So have them come in, have them do marketing. Junior carrying coffee, you know, I don't know about that, but
that fit Junior. He didn't need too much.
It was hilarious. Like, you can't give him. It's like, you're gonna take out the trash and do. It was perfect, but it's just funny because it's like, I honestly think Junior learned like the most at the end of the day, which was hilarious. But just in general, how he had them, you know, the kids come there and then had the smaller kids go to the lemonade stand and that kind of thing. That's very, it makes sense for them because it's like not too much, but it's enough for them to see, look, you got to get outside and do some work and understand what you and your mom have been doing. Yeah,
for sure. So, I mean, let's just jump right into the kids and their jobs. So the young kids go with Bo and they start their lemonade stand. I saw no other way to do it than the lemonade stand.
You called that.
Like, less
like,
than 10.
You're 6, 7. What are you going to do at the office? You're not going to be useful, but you're anyways. And then the older kids, they are headed over to Dre's job at the marketing gig where, well, like we said, Junior is carrying coffee and like doing kind of the grunge work, janitorial work, and then Zoe is doing more so of the marketing thing. And did you guys think that was amazing or like cool that she was able to incorporate her video log with like the marketing? Like,
I think it was
that was
really
kind of current.
Perfect because it was extremely current. I mean, YouTube is the thing right now. So just to see her actually have it showed me a little bit about her character and hopefully about her as a person too. Because I could see that it's something she's involved with too. But I love that we finally got a little peel back about Zoe.
Because you know, because like you said, what she was doing was relevant to what was going on, and also I like the fact how Dre was so inspired by what she was doing and all those views and her blogs and stuff like that, and was, you know, got an idea to incorporate that into what he was doing. So it's interesting how, you know, you can see with the younger generation with technology and things of that sort, how they can be, you know, 15, 16 years old and be coming up with these genius type
innovative
ideas.
ideas. Yeah, like they were finally being able to work hand in hand. I think that's the one area where like the older generation, they need us. They need our fresh perspective, our ideas. We're so into social media to the point where like they study social media, but this is a lifestyle for Zoe, so it comes natural. So I think that's like the first time where we see that they are actually
scary. Lord Jesus. That said that like that was the realest.
You can look though. I mean, look at like Facebook, a social media giant that was started by two 22-year-olds. You know, and MySpace was started by someone who was extremely young. Black Planet. I took it back there.
Yeah, you took it way back.
What about Zanga? Do you guys remember Zanga?
I remember Tagged, and I remember my mother blocking me from that.
Oh my god!
That was before MySpace. That's like where MySpace kind of. Anyways,
wow,
that was middle school.
I can't. So it's been happening for a long time. Then it's just the fact that what's happening for the middle school kids now, we are on it now. But I assume, you know what I mean. But I feel like maybe when we were younger, Zanga to the older people was like, how are the younger people already on this? You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the thing that the younger generation brings is that innovative, fresh, you know, perspective. Yeah, which you saw was so helpful to this huge marketing firm that he works for. So
good. But I thought it was really interesting to see how like parents in the baby boomer generation have a very hard time of letting you do your own thing. Like, I kind of feel like parents are scared of their kids failing for some reason. Like, they want to give you that push, but they still want to have their hand in it. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I know my parents, they do that.
I think parents are scared of whatever they have not done before. Okay. I think that's like if they've not seen it happen to them, they don't really know how to help you. I know when I told my mom, hey, I'm going to move out to LA, I'm going to be a host. She's like, now that sounds real cute, but I don't know like what to tell you.
I don't have
I have no advice, and that really freaks them out if they feel like they can't help. It's like, all you got to do is be supportive and pay for my plane ticket. And we're good to go.
So would you say that our generation is more like we're more risk takers?
Oh, 100%. 100%, I would say. What do you think, Kevin?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think it's easier in this generation to be a risk taker because of the resources that we have.
Exactly.
You know, we can build brands literally in our rooms.
In our rooms,
you know,
exactly.
And you know, from blogs like we saw with what's her Zoe. You know, so I think it's a little bit easier to be a risk taker now versus like 30 years ago. If I said, okay, I'm going to, if I'm going to move to LA and be this huge fashion designer or something of that sort, still a risk, but at least now we have outlets and places to where
you
we
can start it on Instagram. And
exactly.
You can literally be like, I'm gonna be a fashion designer and do it and put it on Instagram before you know it. That's actually your job.
Exactly. But I do think that sometimes parents do fear their children running off into, you know, unexperienced water or going places that they're unfamiliarity, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's a fear in any parent's heart because they want to be able to guide, direct,
of course,
and, you know, help you become established. So I think that parents, there's nothing a parent wants more than for their child to succeed in their respective field. I mean, that's really all that they want.
Yeah.
And if they feel that they can't help or they don't know how to or
it's
things of that sort,
Yeah.
it gets uncomfortable for them.
Because I think, like I said earlier, like our generation, or not our generation, our parents' generation, they are all on like steps and hard work and move from this ladder to this ladder.
Structure.
And that's success. And we are like all over the place.
That's true.
Now, how successful that's going to make all of us, we'll see, because we're not done being successful.
It was a joke.
It's a little much. But
Worst risk I ever took. Man.
But at least you did it. Because I see people in our generation are inspiring people in older generations to actually step out and do what they have always wanted to do. And seeing us do it at a young age is just like, if
That's
you can do
crazy.
it, then why can I not do it? Like, I'm established. Let me do it. Let me take that risk.
Well, I also
so
think
we're learning from each other.
I also think that back then with the older generations, you know, when they were reared, when I say older generations, you know, people that were raised in the 50s, 60s, and things of that
Baby
sort.
boomers, yeah.
Baby boomers. You know, it was handed down by their parents. It's you're going to do this, then you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this. So all of the dreams that we have now would be absurd to, you know, the baby boomers back then coming up, because obviously that's how they were raised.
Yeah.
You know, pursuing field in entertainment or pursuing a field here in fashion, what have you, back then was just not
It wasn't heard
seen
of.
as a feasible, occupation. So.
But isn't it interesting, because like our parents have actually put that seed in us. They have told us to, you know, do what you want to do, go after your dreams, because maybe they didn't see that for themselves.
Yeah.
So I feel like our generation is carved out by technology, our parents telling us to go after what we want, and we listened, and we're more risk takers because of that.
I mean, throw in the fact that all of us got ribbons, even if we were in 21st place, and then there you go.
Exactly.
Throw in the parents patting on the back with the 21st ribbon and the technology, and
I never got
and
a
that's our
ribbon.
generation. Yeah.
What place
Everyone
were you?
wins.
What do you
I was like 90th, so I don't think they give
maybe they
ribbons for
didn't
that.
have enough. I'm so sorry. I got you on Monday. I got you, man. Do you think it was interesting because Dre made a comment at the end about the obstacles creating character, and he was saying that his kid's obstacle is him, you know, and that's the funny thing. Yeah. And I love that line, that obstacles create character. And I wanted to know what you guys thought about that. If, like, you know, the bumps and bruises in your lives or whatever, do you feel like that's made you better, or could you have lived without a few of those, depending on what they are?
That's a good one.
So you're saying, okay, because he said, I think Dre said his biggest obstacle for the kids was himself.
Well, yeah.
So you're saying,
because he was saying that obstacles create character, which is why he was trying to push his kids into these crazy fields. But then he realized at the end that he was his kid's obstacle, and so as long as he's still their dad, they'll be fine, kind of thing. But if you take him out of it and you just focus on the sentence, obstacles create character, I wanted to know what you thought about that.
Well, of course. I mean, I think any kind of challenge per se creates character, whether it's an obstacle, pitfall, detour, you know, what have you. I think switch up. There you go. You know, any of that creates character, because, you know, it's not necessarily, because we're all going to. One of my favorite quotes is by the late Dr. Maya Angelou, but it says, in life, you will suffer defeats, but you must not be defeated.
Yeah.
And essentially, I look at obstacles the same way. I mean, you know, obviously we're all going to go through them, but character is really established on how you recover, how you, you know, overcome, and things of that sort. So Dre,
And the thing with Dre is he tries, at least, from what I've seen, he tries his hardest to be the best dad that he can be to them.
Yes.
And I think, a lot of that is just a reflection of how hard parenting really is. There's, even some of the most, brilliant, highly regarded parents there are out there still struggle. I mean, there's I don't think there's any way, nobody knows exactly how to do everything. Parenting is a learning process.
Exactly.
And, I think Dre, he's kind of discovering that as well with the whole obstacle line.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting. I thought about it full circle.
Definitely agree. Let's go ahead and get into predictions real quick before we end.
Yep. I love it. I hate this part because it's like
It takes so long.
I never know what I have these things I want to see. I'm still these flashing lights.
Hey.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay, so we're into predictions, but we forgot one last thing. Riding Dirty with Bo. How do we feel about the ending on this episode?
I 100% loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
Great way to tie a bow and leave it.
She said, "Don't touch my car."
Yeah, under her breath.
Awesome.
Yeah, Bo is constantly the whole episode trying to impress. So, do we think that Bo is her trying to impress her neighbors is going to continue in further episodes, or how do we feel about that ending?
That was my first time seeing Bo in that character, so I thought it was kind of funny because usually we're seeing Dre trying to make sure he's proving to his coworkers or proving to his kids, and Bo's kind of like, whatever, it's all good, no, it's gonna work out. So that was fun seeing her kind of step out and be like, all right, I need to get on board so that they don't think I'm crazy too.
Right.
So I actually would love to see her in that more. It's entertaining and it brings in a lot of guest characters because I love the girl who played Janine as well. She was hilarious.
Okay. My prediction this week, I mean, with this show, it's really hard to do a prediction because every time they touch on something new. So, I mean, I know that Pops is a recurring role, and I know Shaprinta says that every week we want to see more of Pops, but I really want to see him go on a date with that lady friend that we don't know is actually present. But I really want to see.
Maybe they broke up.
Yeah, I just want to see. I want to see a little bit more of Pops' life. Pops is the grandfather in the show.
Okay.
So
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, you didn't see him this episode.
Did you have any male perspective type on the show overall?
I mean, I would say this as a male. A lot of times you will hear that the woman is the backbone of the family in most families, and that is true. For the most part. I look at my family, but I do like the fact that you see a very strong, dominant male in this particular family that makes the decisions, and the kids come to for advice and things. And it's real refreshing to see that because a lot of times you don't hear that enough. They always hear it's the woman in the family and there's a lot of strong women that do wonderful jobs. So I'm not,
no discredit.
Yeah,
we got it. We don't need that.
I don't want to get any hate comments for that.
Look, if they give you any hate comments from that, I will be very disappointed, you guys. That was amazing advice because Dre is a really fun, cool dad. It's very every time I watch, I think of My Wife and Kids. Or other show, shows that just used to really. Make your heart feel good.
Don't make the black dad feel like he's not doing his job because my dad does a great job. Right. Your dad does a great job. I'm sure your dad does a great job. That is what family's all about. That's why I love this show.
Talking to my friend about her dad who does a great job.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
so we finally get to see some light shed on that. Any more predictions before we wrap up?
Yeah, I predict that Rainbow is, in the next episode, is going to start off with her going by Janine's house in a Lamborghini with spinners, like 24s. She's going around and around. And she's going to reach out the window with a Rolex watch on and say, Janine, what time is it? Or just be out of this world.
I would love it.
That would be great.
That would be great, but that's probably not going to happen. Right. So, a real prediction, I don't know. You're right. They touch on a different theme every I don't know. I would like to see, goodness, I don't know. Maybe a theme where I don't know. I really don't know. That's my prediction.
Okay,
I have no idea.
You don't know, but overall, you like where it's headed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Good. I think they're touching on good topics. It's learning. It's educational to people watching too. Yeah. It's wow,
I can't wait for the holiday episodes. I really want to see how Dre's family celebrates Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think that'll be really, really enjoyable.
Now the question is, are they going to celebrate Hanukkah? I mean,
Kwanzaa. They probably are.
Oh my!
God!
And that's a great
We're all going to learn, though, because I
That's my prediction. That is my prediction.
Kwanzaa. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.
They are going to celebrate Kwanzaa. And there's going to be a dispute in the family over celebrating Kwanzaa and all of that stuff. The candles. And Janine's going to come over and try to celebrate Kwanzaa with them.
So Janine is in every episode.
She stays because I'm feeling it. It's funny.
You always need the annoying, obsessive neighbor. It just makes it.
Shout out to you, Miss Sherman.
Okay, so
shout out to you, Mike.
Okay, where can everybody find you guys on social media?
Yeah, you guys can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at OneTakeStace. Also here at Black Hollywood Live doing Black Tea Party on Fridays. And shout out to my girl Megan who's watching the show today.
I'm Kevin John. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Hey Kevin John, or on my website www.itskevinjohn.com. And also a big shout out to Megan, because since she's not here, I get to be here. So thank you for not being here today, Megan.
Oh my gosh. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Teznos. As always, please send us your comments on YouTube and tweet us everything under the hashtag BlackishABC. We'll see you guys next week, and thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Thank you guys for having me.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.